million rand. From there, we will then fix it for 8 million rand, and then to pay the monthly operating cost 5 million rand. But that goes to 46 million rand. Then that leaves from the 342, we are left with 10 million rand. The 10 million rand is covering two things. One, we were looking at material supply. Remember, there are people who we're going to get material to fix whatever they were looking at. And the balance, we are allocating it to extend certain leases. The leases for TAAs, most of them are 24 months. But there is one that is 12 months, meaning around November this year, that group must vacate that private property. So if we are not ready with a permanent development solution for those families, we are then saying, let's look at possible have money as contingency for extending if there is a need. That's part of that 10 million. So the 10 million, we normally call it, it's the incidental indirect cost, which is the extension of the look and possible have money as contingency for extending if there is extension of contract. So that should have been down extension of the look and possible have money as contingency for extending extension of contract. So that should have been down extension of the look and possible have money as contingency for extending extension of contract. So that should have been down extension of the look and possible have money as contingency for extending extension of contract. So that should have been down extension of the look and possible have money as contingency for extending
how this thing has worked, because there is budget against it. We are so interested in knowing whether if you throw money, it's a bad project. Is this a good project? Can we learn it from it to the future? So I wanted just to stop here that. Any other response?
Before the response, can you qualify this despite the stories?
Oh.
You have put everybody somewhere despite the stories. It means that there are stories behind.
Yeah.
Are you happy? Are you happy the way they are living in those paid for facilities?
No, I think Honorable Kumeta is what I'm trying to ask from there. That put everything in that report. Then we are going to analyze, because it's a comprehensive project, a management report. This is what you have, this is the plan, this is how many people, everything that you have done. For us, it will also help Linda with the research part of it, where we still, focused on the military veterans housing project. But I think for the future, we need to study this intervention. It's very good for the future, because we still have a lot of disasters that we just recently were talking about another storm, a cyclone that's coming. So we want to learn from this intervention, whether these were a good intervention wrong intervention. Yabo manje kungathi sesikukhulidisakhe somehow, but we'll hear from you next time. I wanted just to singamuzi in bits and pieces, just want the whole report. Supported. Any other outstanding matter?
Yes, Chairperson, the other question that was asked by the honorable members is relating to the Aloe Ridge.
Yes.
The Aloe Ridge payment and also the Beckerville. I will start, Chairperson, with the Aloe Ridge. An amount of 100 million previously was paid to Itala. That money has also generated an interest. Out of that interest, which is accumulated to about 14 million, an amount of 2.8 million has been paid over the past 2 years since the agreement was reached with the then minister to say that the province or the Department of Human Settlements provincially must pay for the bona fide military veterans, and SRA will be responsible for the payment for the non-bona fide military veterans and those that had invaded, who are ordinary civilians, who they call the associates of the military veterans. The Beckerville invasion, at this point in time, the invasion has actually stopped. On or about October last year, there was a Induna, there were meetings with the Induna who was kind of settling people in the project, which is called the Beckerville. And that had also stopped after the engagements between the municipality and the Induna, and as well as the affected Ingosi, the local Ingosi. What has then happened was that since the land of Beckerville was not developable, based on the requirement by the Department of Environmental Affairs that we needed to start afresh the process of the detailed EIA in order for us to obtain the ROD. What has then happened is that the invasion has actually stopped, and we are then dealing with the issue of the EIA. We also know that the people who are settling around in that project area or next to that project area are also against the low income type of housing projects, especially more the military veterans, because there are two issues that had stopped us from building. One, it is the issue, the complaints that we have received from the local community that said they do not want the military veterans, we rather build for people who were closer by. And then the second one was the high risk, which was relating to the environmental issues surrounding the area. At this point in time, the municipality's land invasion is actually looking at the property and is engaging anybody who actually tries to invade the area. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for that. Please give us an update report on that matter in our April is not feasible. Let's take it in May. So note that it's when it's bonus. Thank you.
Chair, thank you. The last issue that was raised is around the informal settlement grant lagging behind the other grants. Maybe just to check the committee confidence why we experiencing and we're dealing with that. I'll just draw a parallel with the other grants. The ISUPG is a ring fence grant. We can only do what is stipulated. Yes. The way we work in the department, the members will appreciate. We always try to build a strong pipeline. I'm talking about the HSDG in general.
Yes.
So whenever you get to a financial year, there are projects that are planned, approved, ready, or ready shelved for the construction to begin. So that's why at times you find that there's over delivery, because they had to move money and they were able to deliver because there was a project ready to be financed. With the ICPG, I think it started getting ring fence about 2 years or so ago, if I'm not mistaken, Chair. And in the past, we've always been doing informal settlement, but it was not ring fenced. Yeah. So we're always directing money to the project that is ready, that has done all the approvals. So now, at national level, the thinking is, or maybe the assumption is, we are ready to hit the ground in terms of ICPG. Then they ring fence 750 million for 1 year. In spending this money, we have to follow due processes. So maybe to put the members in the picture, what is involved in ICPG. We mentioned the issue of 900 informal settlements throughout the province that we have met, 700 of those in Ethekwini. All those projects, they're at different levels in terms of milestones. There are others in feasibility because we have to find out whether we can develop people where they are, we have to relocate them, you know, the issues that we are talking about. So there will be a bulk of that who is going to that evaluation. Then at times, we'll be focusing and trying to get land for a specific informal settlement. Then in a case where we can develop people where they are, but we have to go to statutory, we have to do what is called interim services to make the place livable, where you put just maybe a pipe of water, a standpipe, decongest, make sure that maybe the waste truck managed to get in, but it's an interim thing. We're still going to do a permanent because planning is not exempted in informal settlement, unfortunately. You have to go through the same rigmarole as if you're doing the formal. So there's that lead period. So at any stage, ISOPG can be in feasibility, land assemble, interim services, planning, bulk, or full services. So when we start, we plan to allocate money in all of these, and we commit to move forward. Then the issues that we mentioned of delay, for instance, if you have a delay with the land, then there will be a 50 million stack because you can't pay if you have not followed all the procedure for whatever reason. Then there'll be an issue of maybe we're supporting bulk and there's a delay. That's why it's lagging behind because we have to spread it thin, and these different milestones, they have different challenges. Everything being equal, Chair, for this 750, we can be doing 13,600 sites of ISUP because at 50,000 rand per site. But we'll get there maybe down the line because for these past 2 years, we've been building the strong pipeline because most of this ISUP, then they are finishing planning, so they will be ready. So next year or the following year, we'll be coming with a situation where there will be less under expenditure because most of the projects will be ready for the money to get in because most of the money goes when you are actually servicing the site, which is 55,000 per beneficiary. So at this stage, for instance, on average, like this year, we've only serviced around 3,000 sites for about 200 million. The rest of
where exactly? In the Ethekwini
or we can provide, yeah, it's throughout the province.
Okay.
Then the rest of the balance of the money either went to land, bulk services, feasibility, and the rest of the whole thing. For instance, next year, we are projecting 5,000. You can say it's going up because there are a few projects that are ready. So next year, almost 460 million will be going to sites, about 5,000 sites, but the balance will be going to bulk, I think about 400 million just on bulk to assist informal settlements, then land and so forth. So as the year progresses, you'll see this lagging behind disappearing, because we will have projects that are ready, packaged, where you can move in and start spending money on that. So that's the explanation. But it doesn't mean that there's money that is going back, Chair. It's just that it's always lagging behind, and we always monitor it closely to make sure that those milestones are executed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honourable members. If there are no other questions, let me conclude by asking these resolutions from the department. I think give us a report on the HDA. It was not part of the sorry. It's not the HDA because you spoke about the HDA. Give us a report on the status of the KZN housing fund. Remember that it needed to be registered correctly under the CSNA, so we'd like to know how far you've gone with that. That is for the upcoming meeting in April, and also give us a report of all forensic investigation and internal investigation concluded or conducted up until the end of year 21-22. The last one is going to be a resolution from what we have discussed about the projects, the delays in projects. I think the honourable member raised that the CGs in total, even during our briefing, we saw that the CGs were at underspent, but I'm confident. I don't know whether members were sharing the same sentiment. From the last slide shows us that by the end of the year, we will have spent everything, and we are confident, because we normally do, but we are driven by a quality and the better life, including the impact, because for us, those are very important. So we're charging you that whatever interventions we are putting, especially in relation to bulk services of municipalities, you ensure that there is greater impact and greater change in the lives of our people in those municipalities. Thus, I will request that the department in the next portfolio committee provide us a clear roadmap in terms of how are we going to deal with the challenges. I am particularly impressing on infrastructure, the bulk, because that also has a bearing on the technical know-how and the expertise of those particular municipalities, and also demonstrate, like you're saying, abanye O&M and city managers just don't apply, and yet there is money available. So I'd like just you to show us a roadmap on how we're going to turn around. There are a lot of delays, the projects which you have explained in that presentation earlier on. Most of the underperformance is because of that. So I'd like you to take us into confidence on what you have discussed between yourselves and the profit and the municipalities on the roadmap. Show us the milestones. What is it that you want to do? That I think it may not necessarily be fair for the next portfolio committee. Let's push it to May again, that one. So other than that, I think we've finished with this one. Let's quickly deal with point 10.1 to 10.4. I presume that's not going to be difficult because most of the issues have been articulated on. So if we can just go through all of them at once. Are we happy with that approach? Yes. Then they do 10.1 to 10.1, and then these are integrated issues. So I'm going to ask you once.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with 10.1, the developer status of the department in non-KwaZulu municipalities. Chair, this matter started being deliberated upon in this committee during around 2019. I think it was introduced by the issue of the irregular expenditure brought in from the AEG, but also it brought the challenge over and above that of the performance at municipal level. So the issue of the developer status then became topical. Then we started working on that. Chair, if I can maybe move, I don't know whether maybe the members who have this or talk.
We do have it. We have it. It's in the speak document.
Okay, I'll make reference to certain slides. I'll just talk to it very quickly, Chair. If we look at the contents, I'm just looking quickly on the developer status, so I want to create a little bit of a context. That's slide 2, Secretariat. And then you can just go back maybe for the context. Yeah. Then I'm putting the matter of accreditation so that it's not the subject of this meeting, but it's relevant in this discussion. So I'll just spend maybe a minute or so on that. And then I'll come back to the issue of the developer status, what it means, how we're handling it going forward. So by and large, Chair, what you have been asking is how you as the department are going to build what I would call a firewall between us and non-performing municipalities to make sure that you can't do without them, but how you minimize their negative effect on what you do. So this is all about that. So, Chair, if you look at slide, just a slide before the slide 3, I'm just saying it's an obvious matter, but I'm saying what is the developer status? If you look at that, the key there is making reference to responsibility assigned to a person, institution, or body who initiates. I'll just stop there and not talk about the other ones, because in our context and in the interest of the committee, who initiates then involve SCM, who appoints the service provider, because that was the key that brought us the problem of the AG. So if you tamper with who is a developer, you're actually taking over the SCM process, basically, by and large. Okay, then what has happened parallel to that? Okay, maybe before I carry on, developer chair is attached to a project, not the municipality. So this is a matter that is present in all the municipalities, irrespective of the size. As long as there's a project, there's an issue of who's going to be a developer. Then I want to draw parallel and say accreditation. This has been a long-going pilot by the department targeting the high-capacity municipalities. I think there are 7 in KZN, where the department, national and the provincial department, have been piloting the possibility of extending a bigger role of these municipalities in handling human settlement matters. And accreditation is more of a reward or performance system, where there are certain rules associated with being an accredited municipality to do certain functions, and based on your performance or performance of the project, then the MEC will grant certain funding so that you can capacitate yourself in doing that. So this is heavily run on the MEC. MEC may pull a plug on this at any time because that's a prerogative, but it only affects 7 municipalities, and this accreditation is allocated to the municipality, not to the project. So that's what all I wanted to indicate. Then coming back to accreditation, following deliberations at this meeting, we indicated to the portfolio that going forward, we like a default position to be a situation where the department is a developer in any project. So what we did following that, we asked the MEC to approve a situation where from a certain date, any project that the MEC approves, the default position is that the department becomes the developer, because previously a default position was the situation where the municipality was a developer. Yes. So that we went to the MEC, and the MEC thought maybe because it was a serious matter, thought that he at the time she would escalate the matter to cabinet. Then in January 2020, then the cabinet took a resolution that from the 1st of April 2020, every project is approved by the MEC, the default position would be a situation where the department is a developer. So that's been approved, that's been the case, and every project has been approved since then. That's been a situation. But now, Chair, that's done against the backdrop of a situation where the department and municipalities have been working for some time, and there were hundreds of projects already running. So how did we deal with that situation? So in that situation, in the first instance, you had a situation where we had bilateral agreement. Bilateral agreement is parallel. Agreement between the department and the municipality and the service provider, because we're trying to shield ourselves from the findings of the AG. Okay, but we were exonerated from that. But with hindsight, we realized that the bilateral problems. We'll pay the municipality and they'll sit on the money due to the service provider for God knows what period. Then there was a problem. But after being exonerated, then we realized that we can change these situations. So parallel to a situation where from the 1st of April, where we'll be a developer on new projects, I must mention that, then we moved in and we changed all existing projects to tripartite, where you'll have the service provider, the municipality, and us. That allows a situation where we can pay the service provider directly where there's proof that work has been done. And then also it makes us be able to even monitor the performance because we are party to this agreement. So that was applicable to existing agreements. So I would say existing agreements, even though we're not a developer per the original agreement, will improve. In the cases where the municipality were not performing, meaning that in terms of the contract, those contracts have to be cancelled, the new contract of an old project indicated us as a developer. But where they were still performing, but it's an old project, we just changed the contract into a tripartite. And then obviously all the projects and the contracts are managed in terms of the provisions of the contract. Whenever there's a sub-performance, then the due process is followed. And then maybe I just want to...
Can I check?
Yes, Honorable.
In that scenario, who appoints the service provider, the municipality or the department?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe what? Okay.
In the tripartite.
Okay. The tripartite I'm referring to was where we move in and amending existing contracts where the projects are running, where the service provider was appointed by the municipality and the project is performing, but we are trying to change the leverage so that we have more control. But on the new projects, then we created a database parallel to that, very extensive database. And for the most part, unless there's an express approval by the MEC where we allow a service provider appointed by the municipality. But for the most part, we are appointing the service provider now from our own database. We created a database to make sure that we manage the issue of time. So we'll go out on tender, get people from all the levels, 1 up to 9. So depending on the size of the project, they'll just commit among themselves. They sit there for a period of 5 years, CFO, 3 years, yes. Yeah. So going forward from the 1st of April 2020, we are appointing from our own database. So it will be a really express situation or a unique situation where a new project or what we've done in some of the situations where maybe for planning, where maybe the municipality have done some work, we ask the MEC to just ask to approve just planning. But now, once planning is done, we'll just go out database or do a new SM to do the full construction because that's where critical part is. So to answer the honorable member, yes, I would say for the most part it's the department. In any case, if maybe there's non-performance and the IA appointed by municipality is let go, then we appoint. So in terms of non-performance, yeah. I just want to move to the slide number 8. Then at the operational level, there was reference earlier on by the CFO of how we are organized. So even though there are challenges in terms of finalizing organogram, but at the operational level, we organize ourselves in such a way that we have presence at all the districts. If you look at slide 8, what we have 5 district offices, but it doesn't mean that we have physically 5 offices. We have 11 offices. The 10 district and the MEC, we have offices in every district. The 5 refers to a director. So we have sort of grouped them like Zulu and Kanyito and King Kajwadi is 1 director, but there are 3 offices. Then you have Ilembe, Etegwidi, Amajuba, Mzinyati, Mundo, Kutugela, Herifwala, and Ugu. Each and every district, there is a human settlement office with technical staff working with service provider within the area, but they are all under 1 director. Then there are 5 directors in this instance. So that's how we're getting closer to the process. And if you look at the next slide, I think slide 9, the directive from the HOD is those directors, they'll be monitoring work on a weekly basis. So we, through their offices, meeting with municipality officials and IA on a weekly basis. And that will feed into HOD's monthly meetings. So that's the structure. That's how every month HOD meets with every district, but they meet on the weekly basis. So that's why HOD have up to the minute situations with the project. He was making earlier on. For instance, we have all the projects and we know what is their sickness. This is as relevant as yesterday, HOD. So they have that kind of information on their fingertips. So that's how they are being managed. And if you look at more on that page, it just indicates it's just the 2 processes applicable to a project based on the contract. When there's non-performance, what do we do? When there are extensions, what do we do? When there's a dispute, what do we do? When there's a brief, what do we do? So normally that's how the process is running. So if you look at that, you'll realize that for the most part, while you've indicated the problems that we have in the municipality, which is discussed earlier on, like building control, land use management, and issue of the past to a certain extent, we have shielded ourselves from the capacity negativity in the municipality by making sure that we are present, we are managing all the projects on a day-to-day basis. That's by and large the situation, how the matter has progressed since 2019 up to now. So that's the level of involvement in the district and from the side of the head office. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move to 10.2. There's nothing here. I'm not sure whether it was a mistake from our side, but we don't have. We just have the page detailing the contents, but there's nothing. You can project it. We're now looking to construction stoppages or hindrances. You can open it.
it is open interpreting.
Oh.
Maybe it is opening it. Maybe just to take members we just gave an outline of 8 projects that are affected by stoppages in various districts. Maybe before, this one. We just outlined this example of 8.
Yeah.
These 8 projects constitute just above 368 million. Most of them, the issues that are affecting are to do with how the business forums are affecting their operations. There are 5 things that we found to be main issues that make us interact or have issues with them. One, they raise issues of territories. Territory in the sense that they say, don't allow anyone outside this municipality to work here. Or like Wadunumkaka, where they say, don't allow someone even outside this ward to work here. So I'm saying territory in that context. So that is number 1 on the issues of business forum. It's territorial issues. Who is the person that is getting work coming from? Second one is the rates. They do not always want to adhere to the construction rates. They say we can do this work, but they want to pronounce their own rates, not the rates that are in line with the construction guidelines. It tends to be what the problem is. That is the second thing that we are observing on what we do when we encounter them. 3 is the issue of the expertise. They do it as we all do in Makaya, that no, I can do this, not understanding that certain things have to be done by people with certain expertise in terms of professional registration, e.g. foundations. That you may still get someone to do the bricklaying, but for foundations you need someone that is going to sign off for that quality of work. And we tend to have issues on that expertise. The fourth one, Chair and honorable members, we will call it extortion because it's extortion. It's where they just interfere with the project and then say, pay the percentage. If you pay the percentage, then you can carry on. So it's not the work that is assigned. It's like a clearance. If the amount is paid, then fine. And then you find that there's not even one person or one company giving clearance, which then tends to be an issue. The last one, which is the 5th, which we're observing, is issues of control, or IGR. You get some who say, don't work with the municipality or the ward councillor. We are the people that say what happens in this area. And again, it may be some kind of information that you will not understand how it originates and how to stop it the next time another formation is going to come in. So in the summary of the presentation, those are the 5 areas that make the work stop. Here we highlighted those projects as they are listed there, and to about 368 million that are affected by these issues that we are picking up on them, largely on the interaction with the business forums. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to 10.3.
On 10.3, Chairperson, I think the question was what has happened to people that were affected by floods. We can just now officially again register that 1,810 TRUs were built.
It's
that one. Yes, the only confirmation is that all mass care centers were closed, 135 of them. And the solution, we found it to be quite good. And it was an innovation, that it's something that never existed anywhere in the country prior to the floods. So we were happy with that development. And the stories which honorable members are asking about, there are some largely churches that decided to recruit their own beneficiaries outside government systems. Then the moment we started to move all people from mass care centers, then they said, no, but there's so and so in the tent. They said, no, but that was not our tent. And whoever recruited people and got funding to do so must deal with those people. And then it started to subside. Those are the stories that I was talking about. We will then do the close-out report with lessons learned as we were suggesting. But the item is mainly about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last item, 10.4. Housing for Milberg.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to show you the report is available on the screen. Maybe I should continue talking to it whilst
Yeah, we can continue. Because we have it here.
Thank you, Chairperson. In terms of the background, Chairperson, I'm not going to be very long because I think we all know some time back when the National Department gave the subsidy quantum for military veterans, there were various meetings with the stakeholders who are military veterans, and they came up with a particular famous slogan of nothing for us without us, or nothing about us without us. And that led to the appointment of a single contractor to the EPHP program, which was going to deal with the military veterans throughout the province. And after some time, that model did not, however, yield best results for us. There are then various challenges which are affecting this program, which will include communities around various areas not 100% accepting military veterans to come and live closer to them or being integrated to those areas, to the invasion by the military veterans themselves in various areas. I think they once invaded in Konobia and they were removed. They were also there is a famous invasion which is in Alorit, which we'll talk to it here. Then there is also a shortage, I think, of sites that is also affecting this program. And sometimes the performance of these subcontractors of the main contractor, who were part of the slogan of nothing for us without us, and therefore has resulted in substantial delays in affecting the project. Slide 8. On this slide here, we are showing the progress of how far have we recorded these people on the housing subsidy system. Currently, we have 403 beneficiaries that have been approved. In doing the subsidy administration on the military veterans, we have also confirmed that about 12 beneficiaries do own RDP homes or DNGs, and 4 beneficiaries that were verified are owning properties in other areas and therefore would not 100% qualify. Then there are sites which we are looking at in the next slide, which is slide 9, where we are trying to work with eThekwini to get more sites so that we can help build these sites. What we found from eThekwini is that 107 sites we have registered the building plans that are approved, but out of those 107 sites, the municipality has withdrawn about 50 sites in Wamashu, citing social issues that these sites are, the community wanted them for alternative purposes or other programs. And we have 14 sites in Alfred Duma that we are working on, of which 4 we have completed the houses on those 4. 10 sites in Acaciaville, we are waiting for the release by the municipality for these sites. They are available. In Fuku, we have 21 sites that are available, of which 20 are affected by the bulk issues, and 1 is under NHBRC enrollment currently because it's in the rural areas. 10 in King Zechwayo, which are in part of the IRDP program that we are having. We are in a process of identifying beneficiaries that are living around the area. 6 in Umvoti, under Umzinyati district. We are identifying the beneficiaries, and there are 15 in Ilembe, where we have also identified the project area, and we are identifying the military veterans. 10 in Herikwala, which of them, 3 of them are in Mzimkulu, and the rest are in various other areas. and 7 which are in Umkhanyakude. The next slide shows the number of those that we have around Umkhumundovu as a district. And the next slide, you will recall, Chairperson, that the members advised this meeting in the previous meeting, which is slide 11. They advised us to use a model where we can appoint a person who is closer to the project or to the areas where the military veterans are. And I think slide 11 talks to that. We are in a process, or in some areas we have already appointed. In Mshwati, we have already appointed Dezo, and we are pleased to say in this meeting that we've got the enrollment of NHBRC has been completed, and that was given to us last week. And so we are now ready to hit the ground running. We also have Senating, which is for the eco site. A different service provider has also been appointed, which is civil engineering. We have also got Q section, which has got 52 sites, and the service provider has already been appointed, and we are currently concluding the contract. We have in the LCC 27 sites. The contractor has already been appointed, and we are concluding the contract for the contractor to go and do the engineering designs. The engineering designs are underway so that we can start with the construction of both infrastructure and top structures. They are all these sites together with Beasley. Beasley has just received the SPLUMA approval, and we are now pegging the site so that we can frame the general plan and then deal with the detailed design. At Covesville, 20 sites, we are also looking at procuring. The procurement is underway for this one so that we can deal with the matters of billing for the military veterans. But all these projects on this slide are just to help deal with the invaded properties in Ado Ridge. So this is where we are trying to say all those people that are qualifying either through the military veterans program or through the normal BNG or site servicing program will be accommodated, especially in Beasley. It will be for people who can build their own homes, which are in excess of 50 square meters, and the rest is going to be divided between the 40 square meters and the 50 square meters, which is for the military veterans. The next slide is where we are also now identifying close by service providers. In Kanyabude, we have identified that there are 7 sites, and we are doing the procurement now. I think the HOD has signed the procurement process for this one to start, and the service provider will be on the ground, I think, in April, May. Savannah Park as well, after discussing with the existing service provider, he returned these sites to us to actually look into them. We are appointing a service provider to look into building for those 7 sites that are in Savannah Park. Richmond area as well. In Hirikwala, the appointments are underway. Then there are the following 2 sites after the eThekwini municipality had given us some of the sites. They gave us, I think, 3 sites, of which these were big sites that were not subdivided, and then they gave us, they said we must look into them as to which ones would be feasible. We looked at that one site, which is in Wamashu. It was kind of feasible. We are now appointing the service provider. The MEC has approved money for planning for this one, and the planning will be undertaken from June after concluding all the procurement matters. And we also have some sites under Ilovu that are not developable. They look like they are not developable. So we are appointing the engineer, the structural engineer, to provide solutions as to what needs to be done in order for us to be able to develop those 20 sites. That procurement is also underway. The next slide deals with the service provider who is point above, where they are appointed for the 520 sites. So far, 47 sites have been built. An amount of 138 million has been approved, of which 100 million was transferred to Itala, and 9.5 million of that has been spent, and with that money, of which 11 million came from the Department of Military Veterans. On the next slide, we are dealing with the Beckerville. We have already answered the issues that are relating to the Beckerville, that all the planning matters and town planning had been finalized. Only the issue that the Department of Environmental Affairs wanted a detailed EIA again on an area which was already serviced with the high top-notch services, and they requested us to start afresh the processes, and which we are doing, but we have put this site on hold for development until these issues are addressed. On the next slide, which is slide 16, we are dealing with the 30 houses which are in Umshwati. It's a little bit more detailed, where DESO has been appointed. 30 sites were identified from the 77 that we had. 20 out of the 30 beneficiaries, 22 beneficiaries who are military veterans declared that they would want to go to Umshwati. We signed them up, and approximately only 12 have been approved on HSS, who are now ready for the construction to receive their houses. Unfortunately, the other 12 or the other 10 beneficiaries are still in a further process of being assessed. What we are finding out is that some of these beneficiaries, we have picked up that they have properties somewhere in other areas, and they don't declare that, or at some point they don't declare spouses, and when you are now signing them, putting them into the HSS system, the HSS picks them up, and then you go back to them and you say, do you know so and so? And they sometimes they first deny and then later agree that no, it is my wife, but we are no longer living together, and then we then invoke the other system to help them, which will be calling for a social worker to go back and check whether this military veteran does really need a house or not. And we have found, I think, one who declared that his house was a family house. When we got there, the social worker got there, the person already had a helper, had already got, was living nicely in a 3-room bedroom, and when asked about the Alu region, he said, no, I was just part of those who invaded, but I do have my own house here. And then the recommendations, obviously, from the social worker is that this beneficiary will then not be qualifying for a house. There are lots of social issues relating to them, and obviously they come from a situation of being fighters, and dealing with them sometimes can be cumbersome. We have then got the NHBRC enrollment on this one. The process of cutting platforms has begun. The engineer or the contractor has ordered the steel for the foundations. Unfortunately, they couldn't do this until NHBRC had agreed on the thickness of the steel that was required. So that approval was granted last week, Friday, which is the 3rd of March, and the work has begun, and we believe that by the 15th of March, we will have improvement on that side. We also have the following project, which is it in LQ. It's a synopsis.
Please go to page 21. Skip those because it's a sample.
It's a sample, okay. Page 21, it's also the number of houses that have been built, where we have built these houses. Mainly, I think, where in total there are 142 sites that have been enrolled with NHBRC, 68 that have been surveyed. Where we have carried out earthworks, it's actually 42 slabs that have been cast that are on the ground is verified. Wall plates that have been completed are sitting at 26. We also have 16 that are at roof level who has now progressed to completions. So those are the completions that we have had so far. And in the next slide, we are of the view that we will be able to complete these 530 houses in the next 3 years due to the various challenges that we are facing in terms of the release of sites. The next slide is dealing with the program of removing or moving the people that are occupying Arrow Ridge. That we are of the view that by October this year, we would have moved all the people that are occupying Aloe Ridge. And slide 25, it's the profile of the Aloe Ridge occupants as to who have, how many people have occupied Aloe Ridge. This is about 261 that are in the court orders and that we have gone and profiled. According to the minister's resolution, the people who came forward to be profiled out of the 261 are 229. Of those people who are 229, we found that 44 are already owning RDP homes. 4 of them are having high salaries and will not benefit. So some of them are then asking for sites to be released for them who may be up to a bracket of 22,000 rand. Then there are 36 who are really potential or have been accredited as bona fide military veterans. As a big challenge, Chairperson, we have found that in November, the Deputy President came down in Durban and made an agreement with the military veterans that the process of accrediting the military veterans will proceed. But till to date, we have not seen the progress on that one. So what we are finding is that out of the plus minus 600 accredited military veterans, there is a number of approximately more than 1,000 who claim that they are indeed bona fide military veterans, and some of them are known through the ranks, but they are not yet accredited by the DMV, because for us to give them a 50 square meter house, they have to be part of the DMV database that has accredited them, looked at them, verified them, and that process seems to be stalled, and there are capacity challenges, and unfortunately, it is handled at the Deputy President level with the Department of Military Veterans, and thus far, we will await the resolution on that. Thank you, Chairperson. That is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Please remind me your surname. Okay, members, it's up to you. I'm giving you until Koratu then close. So no preambles, no this and everything.
Thanks, Chair. I think we're all tired and we've had an excellent meeting today with lots of good inputs from both sides. Just listening to this and the challenges that are being experienced, we did hear the HOD say that, you know, the disasters are one of the major challenges for the department. But it's true that lawlessness is just as big a challenge. And we have to be honest with ourselves that politics is at play. And that is why, you know, I'm not making a jab or a political jab when I say that it's vital that the MEC engages with us, that is with us at these committee meetings, and that we deliberate on solutions and how we can tackle these issues of lawlessness. And I do understand that he is sick, but if he could perhaps, you know, join us even virtually at times to engage with us so that we could together find solutions to the enormous problems that are affecting the delivery of houses in this province. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Naya. Honorable Mbatsakele.
No, thanks, Chair. We need to thank the report, but I want to check to the department the time frame. If they check as to when are they going to say we are done with the issue of the military veterans. You can see that others will be completed in June 2023, others 2024, but they're supposed to know to say by this time will be done by all issues that talks to the military veterans houses. Do they have the time frame?
Any other question? If there's no other question, let me ask my question. Maybe let me start with the ministers because they are our area of study, focus intervention study. I think it was in the very first meeting when I said would like to complete this matter before the end of the term. So now we are in March, and it doesn't look like we're gonna complete it at the end of the term because we have projected 2025 as we're going through the business plan. Just one and two questions really on this matter. But I think that's commit honorable members to go into different areas, to Mshwati, where they've appointed, where there's just work happening, even if the structure is not yet complete. Just want to see what we are doing. And if a layman on the street picks up this document, what would be his conclusion? What do you think people will say? What is it that you are communicating with us here? I just want to understand exactly what's your thinking around this. I think the other issue that's properly covered is the issue that Ngcolos was going to attend to in terms of the flood victims. I have no questions on that. Let's look into the business forums. There are about 5 areas of demands that you have raised, but I want to check because earlier on it could have been the HOD or in one of the documents we are saying you have engagement with them. So I want you to give us that list so that we know, because we come from different district members have got constituency offices. It's nice to know whether what's those funny names, Gezinsila Business Forum is the one that you communicate with. I'm raising this so that members can also adopt the strategy of oversight, because if you have that liaison between yourselves and these business forums, it's befitting for members to see what they are doing, and also in their during their constituency work, they call them in so that we understand exactly what is it that we are discussing with these people. I'd like also in April, I think we've called a lot of reports for April. Maybe let's shift this one to May also, because something beautiful that came out of your presentation, that you have new projects and there's this triangle where you are now the main players, and there is a good relationship between yourselves, the municipality, and the implementing agent and or the project on site. But what I would like you to send to us in May is the list of the projects where you are now involved in that tripartite, a kind of an agreement, where you're going to demonstrate to us where the project is. If it's project A, tell us where is it in terms of the district, in terms of the phase, construction phase, whether there's budget allocated, whether it started, the IA, and all other social issues that we have raised. Earlier on, we were talking about a lot of social issues that are somehow taking your attention. I'm particularly interested in the SCM processes, and I think coupled with what you are asking for, please explain to us so that we can know whether this arrangement, I know it was ratified through a cabinet resolution and or an agreement, so I do not have a doubt that it's legal, but I just want to know in terms of now the municipality has a project A. Let's make use of Bakerville. Let's take it that it's a new project and you are there. You don't have budget in your account to start with the construction and whatever that, but the municipality does have money, and I want us to look at how do we align in terms of SM, because at times, like you were saying, we've punched holes on a number of inefficiencies in our municipalities. So I want just to understand, how have you aligned your supply chain management services to that of municipalities, owing to the fact that our financial years are not as, we are not on path. They start their year in July, we start our year right now in March. So I just wanted you to also factor in whether their agreements, how do you ensure that the councils agree to this? Has this been canvassed with the council? Let me ask the question, because the other one is not for you to answer now. I want to bring us that report in May, but factor in this. But I just want to know whether the municipalities have agreed to this. I'm raising this because in the district, King's trial, the leadership there was saying it's more or less like you are usurping their powers. So I just want to be sure that you've canvassed this idea with the municipalities.
Chair, thank you. Maybe I'll answer that. Let me start from the basis. You know, there are things that are in law and there are things that are practiced.
Yeah.
Most of the powers in terms of human settlement, they sit with the MEC within the province. Whatever municipalities do, they do that at the pleasure of the MEC. One. But IGR is key.
Okay.
Coming back to what we are presenting, I indicated that we came to the portfolio and we went to the MEC. MEC did not need to go to cabinet.
Okay.
The Housing Act allowed the MEC to take such decisions. But I think because of the socio-political sensitivity, maybe MEC at the time wanted all the colleagues, the executive, to be aware where we are going. So there was a collective executive council decision on this. Following that, I was directed to take the matter through the HOD to Munimec Forum.
Munimec.
Yeah, Munimec, where COPTA called all the municipalities in KZN. Firstly, I went to deliver the presentation to all municipal managers in the province. Subsequent to that, to the mayors. And there was COVID. After COVID and after the recent elections in November, I went there back again so that they can update the new municipal council after the recent election. We did that again.
Okay, I'm happy.
Over and above that, after we've done that, then we wrote to each and every municipal manager indicating what is going on. So yeah, and this is all in the interest of transparency and IGR. But in law, the MEC is allowed by the Housing Act to take such decisions. But we always work in terms of the intergovernmental relations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of our meeting.
Your
question.
Yes,
the question.
Mabebuka nje bayitshela ukuthi koba yini mhlawumbe 10 years, 15 years.
Military veterans.
Asisayikhulumi le yama yokwakhiwa kwezindlu zama-veterans asezitholile sesikhathini.
Chairperson, thank you very much for the question. We have projected 3 years in addressing the current number that we know, which is approximately 400 or 500, let's say maximum, of military veterans who are accredited by the DMV as the program is actually funded by both the DMV and the Department of Human Settlements. We anticipate that in the next 3 years, we would have completed that number. But of course, this is a moving target. As I had said, the Deputy President is handling the issue of military veterans accreditation into, because most of them, when they came back from exile, especially those who refused to be integrated with the defense force at the time or police force, so they don't have force numbers. They rely on a particular system, they themselves, which then say who was your commander outside, and therefore that is agreed, and they look into that application of the veteran and they accredit him and then put him into the system. I cannot confirm as to how long that process will take, but whatever that we've got, we are working with it, and we will anticipate that we will complete this in the next 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Siyacela sithathe umhlangano wakho ngoba siyawubona ukuthi is another department ephethe ukuphila kwabantu. Mhlawumbe in future ungabi intambama siqale message ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sikhulume sonke. Yabo njengamanje sikhathele nje. Siyabona nanokuthi sure mhlawumbe next time in future sicela umhlangano uqale noma ngo7 ekuseni fresh ngaba.
I know it's fun to address outside the meeting. Okay, I think we've come to the end of the meeting. If there are no other questions from the department, thank you very much. We've done very well. I think what we want to see are results from this. Talking is fine, but action is another thing. And I think we must really get used to that, especially because people are getting so much impatient, which are really good. People are really getting somehow they are so agitated and they are really losing patience. Thank you very much once again, our support team from the legislature, Honorable, and please close for us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus. Father, we thank you today for the deliberations that we've had. We thank you for wisdom, and we thank you that you, O Lord, will be in total charge and lead and guide this committee. We pray that even as we travel to our homes and wherever we are going, that you'll give us safety on the roads. In Jesus' name, amen.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Sithathile nodaba lokuthi u-MEC ufika kancane emhlanganweni. Sizobhala official kwabini ngoba mhlawumbe sekufana isibhalo.